Micah Parsons to the Packers. What is the NFL getting wrong about the new cut day format and the most volatile teams this season in the NFL? Coming up on today's Peacock and Williamson mailbag.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. That's where most of the questions come from. You can also drop a question anytime you want to get involved in one of our weekly mailbags in the YouTube comments. Of course, subscribe while you're there, and message to all the everydayers out there. I see a lot of you guys listening every single day and still aren't subscribed. So let's remedy that before the season. Please pause right now, hit the subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on any of your favorite podcast apps. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Hang with us all season as we talk NFL football. And today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Prize Picks, and tons of special offers this season for our listeners at Prize Picks. Just download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, we've got many questions about Micah Parsons. What are the Cowboys doing? Is Jerry screwing this up? Is Micah Parsons ever going back? And the big story this week is a push potentially. Everyone kind of believes that the Packers are in on it. Nobody will say confirmed that the Packers are in on it or that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are listening, Matt, for offers for Micah Parsons. He did go get a checkup. I don't know how you hurt your back if you're not practicing. So.
You're not doing anything right.
He's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting a second opinion on his back. Is that part of his hold-in strategy to have a fake back injury? Is this a real back injury? When did he hurt his back if he's not practicing and holding in from the Dallas Cowboys here? So it's a really weird story that we don't really have a lot of answers in. Here's the hardest news that I could find on the situation from Micah Parsons. And Jane Slater is, former Cowboys reporter in the Dallas area, works for NFL Network. She's like calling everybody, trying to figure out what's going on. She feels like there's something happening, but can't quite tell. Packers reporter Matt Schneidman was on with Pat McAfee. He said, to my knowledge, Jerry Jones isn't listening to trade offers for Micah Parsons right now. But if he does entertain it, from what I've heard, the Packers will be interested. And Brian Gutekunst, the Packers GM, yesterday was asked this very question, and he declined to address Micah Parsons specifically when asked about the move, but he did say, quote, any opportunity that's out there that we think can help the Packers, we'll take a long, hard look at it. Does that sound like GM speak from a team that's made this big-time offer that apparently could be close to getting done, Matt? Because that's what some of the non-insiders out there, whether you follow the Pretty Ricky account, there's a my favorite one, the fake insider that does breast augmentation surgery, and he said the women have been talking, the wives can't keep their mouths shut, and we've got some insight that this Packers deal might be done. So depending on who you listen to, haven't heard it from Schefter or Ian Rappaport, but there seems to be a lot of smoke about the Packers' interest in Micah Parsons, and they should have, as a lot of teams probably should have, if he's actually available.
So I want to talk about three different angles. I think the Parsons angle is pretty clear that he's going to – I bet he sits out week one if this just sits in this situation. You know, if nothing happens, I don't think he plays in that Thursday night game that everyone on the planet's going to be watching too. I mean, they're in Philadelphia opening night. I think he makes a statement, and I don't even know if Jerry will care because they'll be talking about the Cowboys, but who knows?
It's a week. It's Thursday.
It's a week. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. He hasn't practiced at all. I don't believe the back stuff at all. And there's some weirdness going on here. But I think Parsons is pretty well dug in. Cowboys side. That's a side I don't understand at all. I think Jerry's getting weirder and weirder and older and richer, and that's a crazy combination that nobody's going to tell him no. And
right, yeah, surrounded by yes men and rich, and this is my team. This isn't some player's team. Trying to circumvent the agent, which he might be getting in trouble for as well, according to the NFLPA or the CBA or whatever. Is he breaking rules by trying to kind of get a deal done with Micah and not the agent? And so a lot of weirdness here that makes you feel like a deal's not going to get done. But again, I'll remind everybody, it was the final week and the final day of the season starting for Dak Prescott when the CD Lamb deal, the Dak Prescott deals were done. Deadlines make deals. So, just like we see a lot of trades happen right when the cut down day happens, because teams have to figure out their 53. You have no more time to drag your feet. You got to get a deal done. At this point, Micah Parsons is a weak enough to get ramped up, especially if your back's hurt. So maybe the Cowboys are like, okay, well, let's see if he wants to lose a game check. He's not going to be out there for us in week one anyways. We actually have a little bit of extra leverage here for this week. But that means Micah Parsons won't be out there for the Cowboys in week one. It's hard to envision him being out there.
I mean, unless they get this monster deal done, like you said, the golden rule here is deadlines make things happen, of course. I mean, and the Cowboys have been as good example as any team in the league. I just don't know what Jerry's motivation is, and I'm not even going to try to guess at this point. And the tea leaves aren't telling me anything. But I do think the Packers angle, as would be the case for 20 other teams, is really interesting, but especially Green Bay. I mean, I would not want to send them Rashawn Gary, but I could send them Van Ness, and picks, or, give you something for today. Would the Cowboys want to send him to another NFC, quote, contender? Maybe not, but, so be it if that's your best offer. And we've been saying for a while, I really like the Packers. I like their defense a lot. I'm a big Jordan Love supporter. I think they got a really good head coach, but they don't have superstars. Like when you win playoff games, some superstar takes over, Tyreek or Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? Or
you have to get lucky and someone catches the ball off their helmet, right? Like some kind of thing that is like from the gods has to help you get there in a lot of cases. Yeah.
And it's like they have a really good roster, but they don't have any A players, and give me that one A player and it would be a trickle down for the entire defense and give you one of the best pass rushes in the league. And if I were them, I would be very aggressive, and that's not usually their move.
Which is why it's a blank check too. It's like you mentioned Rashawn Gary, like I don't think the Packers would care. Sure. Take Rashawn Gary.
If we have to, right. I'd rather get rid of Van Ness, but okay, right.
Not Jordan Love. You're not going to trade Golden. He just drafted in the first round. You probably don't want to mess with your offensive line, but again, I would trade any of the offensive linemen. It's like it depends on what they ask for. But generally, this becomes picks because the team that's trying to get him is trying to win too. So
sure.
And it's a bad time of year to be trading for picks in some sense because you've already put your team together. Like this should have been a pre-draft trade if you're actually going to trade him, and you're not going to just talk to the Packers in this case. If you're the Cowboys, you're going to open this up to every team in the league because you have tons of offers and get a bidding war going if you're the Cowboys. So it is a weird time of year to make a massive trade like this.
And we've brought up New England. New England, I mean, they're far away. It would never probably hurt you again. They could give you an early first, conceivably. I'd rather their first than Buffalo's or Green Bay's or whoever. There's a lot of teams that'd be really interesting. Chicago.
You can't trade Micah Parsons to a team that you might see in the playoffs. Although playoffs, if you don't have Micah Parsons, if you're the Cowboys, but they would probably still have the hubris to expect that they would be a playoff team even without him. But you probably would rather send him to the AFC. So for that reason, I just, in the end, we got to talk about it. I don't think a deal is going to get done, and I think he'll be a Cowboy. But this feels a lot more further away, a lot more difficult of a negotiation in its entirety than even the CD Lamb deals and the Dak Prescott deal. But those also weren't done yet. So maybe this is just the modus operandi for the Dallas Cowboys, and that he'll sign Wednesday and then maybe play 10 snaps on Thursday, right? Is that the way it's going to go?
I'm just going to plant a flag just for fun. I'm betting he sits out Thursday. We talk about it like crazy. They show pictures of him and highlights on the biggest broadcast of the whole year. And then in that 10-day stretch before their next game, he signs and he's happy as can be.
Yeah, what's the off day? So if you play Thursday, players come in
Philly, right? So they're on
Friday, so it's Saturday the off day.
Over the weekend, we get news or something.
Yeah, that's the big bomb.
Maybe even that Sunday.
Sunday
Jerry
morning
wants to overshadow opening day Sunday.
Sunday morning. That's when it is.
No one's
Sunday
going to talk about
morning.
Dallas Sunday morning unless they sign or trade Micah Parsons. So that's the day it's going to happen. Or
Every day.
during Monday Night Football, it's going to happen. You know, at halftime.
There we go. All right. Well, glad we got that one figured out.
Yeah, that's all
Micah
done.
Parsons. He will not be a Green Bay Packer. Very unlikely that he's anybody, put on any uniform other than the Dallas Cowboys this year and for the foreseeable future, but not impossible. We'll keep tabs on it, and we'll let you know here as we do every day talking NFL football if there's any news to report on Micah Parsons. Let's talk about cut down day. Was the old format better of slowly cutting players? And who are the most volatile teams in the 2025 season in the entire NFL? Next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks back for another season. Love the Prize Picks format, and it's just, you realize it's football season. Let's talk Prize Picks, right? Let's talk DFS, daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, right? Like we're there. Where preseason is over. In fact, college football season is right here. NFL season is right here. We're a week out from the kickoff of the season. So whether you've got your eye on a big name quarterback breakout this year, breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. And how about this for a play on Thursday night, September 4th? We're a week away, 5:20 p.m. start time. Cowboys, Eagles, Dak Prescott, max discount play. Max discount, meaning you only need 0.5 pass yards. I think you can put that in your Prize Picks lineup that Dak Prescott's going to get ahead of 0.5 pass yards next Thursday night, and you'll be off and rolling with Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL, and that's $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Matt, taking a look at the questions here, and appreciate all the listeners that get involved in our mailbag every single week. I want to start with the one of our favorite tweeters into the show, and now I lost his. It's Joey Bag of Donuts. So Joey Bag of Donuts wants to know about cut day and everything that goes into cut day. He says, first of all, it's kind of a two-parter. Is it better for players and teams to be cut all on the same day or to have it spread out like it used to be? And then it's like, okay, well, if you don't like a player enough for him to make your roster, why is everyone so quick to add these guys to their practice squad? And why isn't there more claims of people taking players off of other people's practice squad? And is there a handshake deal between GMs that essentially limit how much poaching there is going on in the NFL? Because I find it hard to believe that of all the, you go from 90 to 53, that there's not more movement in the practice squad level of player in the NFL.
Yeah. So first off, the last question, is there a handshake agreement between GMs? I think the answer is a big no. Yeah, I think there's logistics that are in the way, not I don't want to screw my buddy from the Rams or Packers or whatever. I mean, if there's a player they love, they'd grab him. They don't care about the opponent.
I think that the handshake thing is you don't want to do players dirty and teams dirty by like just stealing ruin a guy's career by I'm going to take him off the practice squad and sign him, and then the other team's burnt, and then you're like, oh, and then I'm going to cut him next week, and then now the guy's out of a job completely because he burnt his first team, got onto a team. Like, you have to really, really want a guy and genuinely think he's going to help you and be on your roster if you're going to be plucking a guy away from another team's practice squad or claiming him. And it's logistics of getting there's a lot to learn for a player to get ready and play for your football team.
That's what I was going to say. It's just a different sport. It's not like you just stick him in right field and hit him fifth. You know what I mean? He might not know anyone on the team or how to get to the bathroom or where the sunflower seeds are, but he can still play right field and throw the ball to the right people and hit the curveball when he comes up the plate and maybe know the signs or maybe not. Hockey, basketball, I think you can acclimate a heck of a lot quicker than football. So I think a lot of it, too, is you put a lot of time into these guys. I mean, all the meetings and all the stuff behind the scenes that you get a relationship with them, good or bad. I'm sure there's some dudes like, I can't wait for this guy to get out of here. But I definitely think that you taught them there's a level of trust. So back to the first question, I really have mixed feelings about this. Should there be different cut days? Like it used to be, waves. I think the answer ideally would be yes. Let's just the first wave of cuts, because I always think about the position coaches. Like, I'm an offensive line coach, and I pretty much know there's going to be 9 or 10 dudes that are going to be here during the regular season. But right now I got 19 of them in my room, and players 16, 17, 18, and 19 are doing everything possible at the last second to try to get my attention, to be a better player and keep their jobs. They're desperate. And to their credit, they're working hard. But I don't have time for you. Like, I'm the Eagles O-line room. I want to be talking to Lane Johnson about the Cowboys and blocking Micah Parsons, not the 19th guy who's trying to get my attention late in the process. That ship sailed. I know I'm going to cut you, son, but I just only have so much time in the day, so I think assistant coaches would love to tear down their room quicker, just get the riffraff out of here that just take up so much time in my day, because they're trying harder than anyone to get my attention. But I always spin it back to the Steelers, just because I can cite better examples. Like, they played the Panthers in week 3 of the preseason, and the Panthers chose to sit 30 of their most valuable guys. 30. They needed all 90, just to finish the game. I mean, that would not be an option if you had already cut 15 guys or whatever. You'd be putting people out there in harm's way. You wouldn't have the option to sit 30 guys, you know what I mean? Just totally tank the whole game,
And I think things backfired a little bit on the league with what the intentions were with changing things up. And part of it is a lot of rules changed for COVID. And then I think we probably need to go back and be like, oh, a lot of stuff changed and then you kept it, but it didn't need to change. It changed for this one specific reason. Should practice squads still be as big as they are? Then you can start protecting guys. And then the cut down days changed. And then the preseason changed. And all these things changed. Like, which one was for the better? And what ended up happening is, I think the league was like, well, if one of these 4 preseason games doesn't matter, let's cut it off and use the other 3. And then the teams were like, well, now we're going to cut off the good game and give you the crap one still. And the last one, it's like, if it doesn't matter, then don't play it. Right. And so I think a second cut down would be the way to go, and get the fodder off the roster earlier, and get your team ready. That's what the preseason is supposed to be about, not having a meaningless game that guys aren't going to make it in the league. And that's fine to have those guys showcased as well. But that's also like the UFL is for too. It's like, what do we do? Yeah. So I don't think it's helpful to have everybody cut on the same day. It's
a lot of work for every front office to be flooded with that many names.
It's an easier way to clear your guys through waivers.
Yeah, because there's
so many. And I do think that in the end, teams bring in the guys they want to, and you see so few. I think there was 29 claims. So, a lot of teams didn't claim a player, period. Some teams that are, the Titans have spaces. They have a bad roster, and so they could add 4 claims to the roster. A lot of teams don't claim anybody. And so there's still so few claims in the NFL. Just the psychology of it, most teams are more worried about their own guys getting through and getting back to the practice squad than they are about claiming somebody from another team's roster. So
2 things I want to throw in there. There's a misconception leading up to cut down day by fans that, oh my gosh, if we cut Skylar Thompson's the Steelers' 3rd quarterback, 10 people are going to want this guy.
Yes.
No, they don't. No, I mean, they got to get him in there. They got to get him acclimated. They got to teach him the whole offense. More guys get through waivers than you think. Fans are like, well, no way we can cut that guy. Everyone on the planet's going to want him. Like, he's a 7th round pick that nobody cares about. Yeah.
Everything could, and a lot of it is, and sometimes teams should probably, but they don't,
there's only so much time in the day to coach these guys too and get them ready for week 1.
You can't erase your brain of your priors. So
yeah.
A guy went undrafted for a reason. You don't watch him in camp and go, oh shoot, we should have taken him in the 4th round. Let's cut this guy and go bring this guy in.
So the Steelers practice squad was all guys they cut. They didn't get anyone from anyone outside. Like, I was shocked by that, but that's got to be so familiar for the coaches and everything. Like, we could just operate like it's a normal day. I don't have anyone that I have to teach the entire offense for. I'm trying to win in week 1 now. That's all I care about, not coaching up the worst guy on the team. That's a practice squad dude that I'll probably cut in 3 weeks anyways when we need a special teamer. One other thing that I think is interesting in the cut world is a lot of teams, and it's particularly true with like specialists. You got two kickers, and I've decided on one. So you let the other one go early, so he has more time to hook on to another team. Like you do the player a favor by not hanging on to him to the very, very bitter end, you know?
Yeah. I'm definitely firmly in the side of let's have 2 cut down days, one after the second preseason game or something, and let the third preseason game still matter for what you're trying to put together as a football team and get some guys some work that might play this season. And so you can cut some key veterans that you want to have an opportunity, and then the fodder that's completely not going to make your roster. You had him in camp. Thanks for trying out, but you're not going to be there. So then you got 75 guys for the third game instead of 90, something like that.
Yeah.
And you're not in a bind because of injuries either, because you want to have a lot of players available to your preseason rosters. And I think that's part of it too. And that was kind of the COVID thing as well. Is like you just need roster spots because there's a lot of injured guys. A lot of guys can't participate. So you just need the most people the whole time. And then now let's just cut them down at once.
People might remember, but pre-COVID, I used to complain that the practice squads were way too small. So I think that's one of the best things that came out of COVID. Because, that's like one extra guy in each position room or maybe 2. And all you got to do is feed them and give them gear and give them $1,000 a week or whatever. Like, it's not like it's any cost. So maybe put them up at a hotel once in a while. They all sit there in sweatpants on the sidelines for home games. Don't even get on the plane.
Some team issued gear.
Right. Here's a helmet and, and maybe develop an extra offensive lineman because of it or, save someone's career.
I like the bigger practice squads.
I do too.
More NFL players. That's not a bad thing.
And I don't necessarily want my backup quarterback running scout team pretending to be Lamar Jackson. I'd rather he was taking snaps with the ones,
Yeah. Right. Next, let's talk about the most volatile teams this season in the NFL. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Rugiet. I'm sure you've heard of and possibly have even tried Viagra or Cialis. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pill that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. It has been for over 150,000 men that have already made the switch. So head over to Rugiet.com /LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com /LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And yep, the season's here. FanDuel making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer right now. New customers can bet just $5. And if that first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. This is the biggest bonus they're going to give out all year long. In fact, it's the biggest bonus I've seen in years from FanDuel, who've been sponsoring the show for a long time. A $5 bet for new customers. If that wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to bet on all the spreads. They got lines for all 18 weeks of the season already. Tons of NFL props, college football, Major League Baseball, NBA, of course, NFL draft already as well. So are you ready to play? Download the app right now. Download the FanDuel app at FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Let's go back to the Cowboys real quick. This is a Cowboys-centric episode, and they might fit in with both of these last two questions. The first question we have is about the Dallas Cowboys making a move, not trading away a defensive player, but potentially adding an offensive player, Matt. So what do you think about the Dallas Cowboys making a move for Breece Hall, who is rumored to be potentially available by the New York Jets, and fix that running back position and, as our listener puts it, become the best offense maybe in the NFL?
I'm not sure I'm quite there, but it would be I think they're going to be really lopsided offense. They're going to throw a ton. We talked about like Dak for fantasy. I think he could lead the league in attempts, but their running back room is clearly the worst in the league, right? And I think you get Breece Hall for a pretty nice price right now. I don't think the Jets plan on re-signing him after the year. They seem to be high on Braylon Allen. I have mixed feelings on that. They're going to run the ball at the quarterback. They're investing in running backs just isn't on the Jets timeline right now wisely. That's the last piece of the puzzle to me. I'd throw even Travis Etienne in there. Brian Robinson just moved. I think there are backs that you could be had, and Breece Hall's the best of the group. I still don't understand why the Saints keep Kamara too. Like, I want Kamara to be a Chief so bad.
Yeah, the Kamara thing never made sense, and they just re-upped him too. So it's not like they have plans to get rid of him. Travis Etienne's the one that always made the most sense there.
Yeah,
if you're not willing to even throw a 6th round pick out there for Brian Robinson Jr., it tells you where the Cowboys are. They're not worried about running back, and they haven't been for a while. It's not a new development this offseason.
No, it's not. I mean, really, since Zeke, they don't really care much about the position, which I understand. I mean, I'd prioritize it a little more than Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, but I mean, I understand not putting many chips in that basket.
And I think that's growth from the Cowboys. I think they saw and they're like, "What are we doing? We can't draft a running back in the top 5 anymore. It's a different era."
And then pay them, and right.
Yeah, maybe that's informed where they are now. They're like, we should have drafted Jalen Ramsey at number 4 overall, not drafted a running back. What were we thinking?
Yeah, I do think they're not afraid to spend money in the front office on analytic people and things like that. I mean, whether they take the advice, who knows? But they definitely have enough people chipping in with their,
That question, by the way, was from Grant. Appreciate the question there. Let's go to here's another trade question. This one is from Hessian, and this is about the Steelers, and I'm kind of interested in this answer from you, Matt. Judging by the zen-like patience of Omar Khan, the GM, how come 90% of the fan base is still whining and not just waiting to see if more magic concerning the wide receiver room that they currently have comes? And he says a little sarcasm, but not really. So he's kind of blaming the fans for wanting a wide receiver. That might be the fault of the media. I've heard you talk about wide receiver quite a lot. I feel like the Steelers want a wide receiver too, and they've been in on every wide receiver, but never bring one in. They finally made a deal this offseason to add a guy, but then they gave away another guy as well. So you kind of swapped one for one. The need feels like it's still been there. So how come they haven't had more urgency in actually making the move and been like, okay, we're done at wide receiver finally?
I think they've kicked every tire. All my sources tell me that they've been on the phone with the Raiders for Myers and called at least about McLaurin. And they have certainly inquired. Olave. I mean, like, all these guys have at least weighed their options. And there's a couple layers of this. First off, the fan base flat out BP got scarred by Brandon Ayuk. Because every day we talked about it, and there were days when people were like, he's coming today, like, get your jerseys, never came. So burn me once, a lot of people were just like, this is just like last year. Yeah, I get that tweet every day. The other thing is just this organization as a whole, and it's worked well over the years, doesn't move fast for anybody. They are going to be very calculated on this. And what I've been telling people on like my Steelers shows is I think they will add a receiver, but it's only going to be one, and it's only going to be the right one. It's not like we'll throw this guy in free agency and maybe we'll draft one in the 3rd round. It's like you got one more opportunity, and I'm not settling for one that's not good enough. I'm not overpaying for one that's too good. It's kind of the porridge too cold, too warm. I'm going to wait until it's just right.
Yeah. It's
but I thought it'd be done by now. Like after the Pickens trade, I'm like, there's another shoe to drop on this. And they did add Jonnu Smith, who basically lines up as a slot receiver, so that makes it a little more palatable, but still, I thought there'd be one more in tow by now.
On one hand, I totally get it. And it's the right way to do business is you're not going to just throw bad money on top of bad money.
They never will.
But at the same time, this is years we're talking about. You got to address it at some point and kind of figure that out. And so if you really do have the need and you wanted to do it, find the best deal and take it. It might
part of it's also Arthur Smith doesn't use a second receiver hardly at all.
Okay, so maybe
they featured AJ Brown, they featured Drake London, they featured tight ends like crazy. So it's not as prioritized in this offensive scheme, a WR2, as much as most teams.
So what you're telling me is it's more like when you're cruising through Costco and you're like, oh, sure, I'll take a free sample. And then you're like, okay, that was all right, but I'm not going to buy the thing I just sampled, but the sample. So they're still in that mode where they might buy the right thing. It's got to be they'll be like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, and it's cheap. Okay, we're going to get that. And so they really don't care all that much about a wide receiver, even though they've been in on a lot of guys.
But the fear is, and this is the catch-22 of it all, is like when Pickens got hurt last year, the offense fell apart. And if Metcalf gets hurt, the offense would fall apart. You're one injury away from just being the worst receiver room ever.
I talk about this
a lot. Yeah,
I talk about this a lot with running backs, and it's true for a lot of positions in the NFL because everyone's one play away from getting hurt.
Of course, they have no good backup plan.
Yeah, and so this happens a lot with the 49ers. You'll hear a 49ers fan say, "Well, man, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy all year, I mean, they're set. That he's the whole offense." It's like, well, then they built the team wrong because you can't.
Right.
The football team, if your running back stays healthy all year, that can't be a plan.
Yeah, that's so betting on. If that's really what it is, spot in roulette every time, and once in a while it hits. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If I win the lottery, then cool.
Right.
I'll be set for life.
I'll just buy 10 more scratch offs. That'll cover the rent.
Last one here. Dave says, which team has the biggest range in how many wins they could get this year? And he says, and why is it the Dolphins? And I think the Dolphins have to be on this list for
first one that came to mind.
Yeah, the delta of how many wins at the ceiling and the floor of what they could do this year. The Dolphins is a really good one. I probably have to put the Cowboys in there as well.
Good one. I jotted down 5 teams. Rams, just all about Stafford. Maybe they could win the Super Bowl. Maybe they could pick top 5. I mean, to me, there's all. And you could say that about a lot of quarterbacks, but he already has an injury now.
Yeah, he already has the injury, so that's why it's probably more likely that the floor could be hit. And I totally agree with that. And we did our NFC West preview here on Locked On, and those are running this week. It was like, yeah, okay, Stafford healthy all year, Rams win the West.
Yeah,
Stafford hurt, last place, and this division's really tight, so it's an easy thing to say, but I mean,
how much they get of them, you know.
And we've already seen this from the 49ers in the same division, too, where they were a 6-win team last year, or they go to a Super Bowl. It's kind of been their MO. So I think they probably have to be on this
They're
list.
the first team to write down because they either win 10 or lose 10.
Right.
I mean, every year. Bengals are another one. Just so loaded on one side, so terrible on the other. And then I wrote down the Bears, too. Like, is this rookie head coach really going to have a 300-yard, 1,000-yard passer or actually have quarterback production and be going the right way, or the Bears just going to be the Bears forever?
Right. I get being hopeful that they are a win team, but they could also be drafting in the top 5. Again.
Yep.
I guess, I would say Minnesota just because, and any of the teams that you think can be good but have an unknown still at quarterback.
Yeah. I didn't want to be too quarterback centric.
Right.
But I think that's a good point. I mean, Minnesota won like 13 games last year, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's possible again, but they could be a contender.
I mean, they could get better quarterback play than last year.
They could.
Possibilities, and still not win.
The O-line's better. The running backs are better. The receivers might be better.
Patriots, if their quarterback hits,
I just don't see the ceiling with them.
Right.
Everyone seems to be like, oh, they're gonna. Like, I think they'll go from awful to average. I just don't think they can be good.
The ceiling's not there for them. No, I agree with that. They need another draft and hit some big time playmakers. Pass rusher, receiver, whatever it is, with another high first round pick and add one more offseason to it with the growth of a quarterback. And then now you're rolling.
Yeah, I just don't think even if May's awesome, I still think maybe you sneak in the playoffs and get blown out by the Bills or something, Maybe.
There you go. Let us know. Who do you think is the most volatile team in the NFL? Hit us in the YouTube comments at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Get involved in this next week's mailbag is going to be on the eve of the season, or actually it'll be airing the morning of the NFL season kickoff next Thursday. So get involved. Your final questions of the offseason here on Peacock and Williamson. And I do want to let the listeners know that there's another big moment for Locked On right now. College football fans, listen up, because Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff. It is now live. It just went live this Thursday, and every Thursday, a college football preview only Locked On could do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And make sure you're subbed up here to Peacock and Williamson. And Matt and I will be back tomorrow right here, P&W.